Welcome to Tesla Global. There's been a lot of discussion lately about EV adoption slowing down, with some even predicting a drop in 2024 on a global scale. I find this notion quite absurd, and it appears that legacy automakers are making a significant mistake. BMW and Germany's transport minister have been vocal about their belief that EVs will decline in 2024, asserting that ICEs remain the superior technology. This perspective is only hastening their downfall. Let's delve into this topic further. There might be countries, for one reason or another, that might shrink, just as not all markets grew in 2023, but the EV market still grew from about 8 to 10 million units. And just because many of the old legacy automakers are lowering their targets does not mean they will shrink in 2024, just that they lower their ambitions on how fast they thought they could grow. And they thought everyone would just love their EVs, but as this is not the case, the demand for their EVs is not as high as for the ICE cars. People are suddenly looking at Teslas instead, or even the Chinese like MG4, which was actually the third best-selling EV in Europe in 2023, beating the very similar car from Volkswagen, the ID.3. The MG4 sold about 20% more than the ID.3 in Europe. Indeed, the Chinese presence in the EV market is already significant, and it's poised to grow even further in 2024. BYD, for instance, was relatively small in Europe in 2023, but has shown promising growth in 2024. Sales numbers for January 2024 indicate that BYD has increased its sales by 10 times compared to the previous year. While legacy automakers may be scaling back on production, the same cannot be said for Chinese manufacturers who are just beginning to assert their dominance. Tesla, too, is accelerating its efforts. Recent reports reveal that the Berlin factory has achieved a production rate of 6,000 units per week, marking a significant milestone. Tesla's rapid progress is evident, with production reaching 5,000 units per week in week 11 of 2023, just 1 month after hitting the 4,000 mark. But the 5,000 mark is also kind of the very first very important milestone to hit, because that is when the factory starts to earn some money as they get to the economy of scale. Audi, Volkswagen are among those scaling back EV-related ambitions. Standing at the front of the room at the Auto Industry Association's New Year reception in Berlin this week, BMW's CEO, Oliver Zipse, had reasons to feel medicated on stage. Transport Minister Wollweising was preaching to the crowd of policymakers and industry executives about the importance of technological openness in reducing transmission emissions. So yes, you do know where the German policymakers and auto industry stand on this one, as they know they are being disrupted and it is happening fast. So they're trying to delay it the best they can. As yes, even the little MG4 is outselling the ID.3 on its home turf in Europe, and the Model Y and the Model 3 have taken the 2 top spots. They should be afraid. But Zipse has been making the same points for years, advocating for flexible production lines for combustions, hybrids, and even hydrogen-powered cars. His cautious strategy, which chimes with his predecessors, was attacked as not aggressive enough on challenging the electric leader Tesla. The upper end of the EV market is almost saturated, and there is little on offer in the low end of the €25,000 segment. After years of surging growth, selling EVs is becoming tougher. Generous government incentives are disappearing in Europe, and fewer vehicles qualify for them in the US. While a range of new models and commitment-light leasing options have attracted the attention of electric enthusiasts some years into the EV revolution, infrastructure and price still remain roadblocks. Globally, market watchers have trimmed forecasts amid the enduring reality that vehicles are much less affordable than equivalent combustion engine cars, despite a price war kicked off by Tesla. Well, again, I very much disagree here. Yes, Germany might see a drop in sales because of the disappearing of incentives, but that will probably only be short-term and only in Germany. But Germany is not the entire market. It is just one country, whereas many other countries are accelerating like nothing before, making Norway's EV adoption look like a slowpoke. If you are new to the channel, subscribe. Take Thailand, for example, also quite a big market in Asia. Sales of electric vehicles were turbocharged in Thailand in 2023, surging by 6,184% compared to the previous year as Thai drivers increasingly take to the new automotive technology. Even some of Thailand's famous tuk-tuks, the three-wheel taxis known for their noisy engines and spewing exhaust, have gone electric. But EVs amounted to 12% of the total vehicle registration in the kingdom last year, a significant slice of the market, and getting to that famous tipping point of 10%. And we can see that in January 2024, for sales in Thailand, continue up the steep curve of EV adoption, as they, in January 2024, had a 20.5% BEV market share. They are not slowing down because the Chinese and Tesla are really starting to ramp up in EV sales in Thailand. Hydrogen will never be as efficient as an EV, and green hydrogen will always be made by electricity, the same thing we can just run the damn car. But they want to waste about 2/3 of that energy on making hydrogen, compressing it, and transporting it, and so on. It will never be reliable for the transportation sector, especially for passenger cars. We have even pulled down all hydrogen stations in my country here. The race is already over. BEVs were closing in on 40% in 2023 in my country, up from 20% just a year earlier. And in all of 2023, there was one, and I repeat, one hydrogen car sold. And you can bet your money that person regretted that buy, as he no longer can fill up his car in my country. So the stupid argument about technological openness is just the German kind of history, trying desperately to keep the fossil fuel-burning cars alive a little bit longer, polluting our air a little bit longer. And when asked what the government could do to bolster the German EV market, the transport minister offered one thought: charging infrastructure. So yes, the German government is behind the target of putting up charging infrastructure. But again, I have been driving nothing but EVs for almost 5 years all over Europe, and I wouldn't ever go back to an ICE car. I much prefer to drive an EV, even on road trips, because 80% of my charging in a year is all still done at home or other slow charges at hotels, which is also very convenient. So 80% of the time, I don't even spend those 5 minutes at the gas station that the ICE cars do. I save all that time. 80% of the time, only on road trips do I spend more time filling up the ICE car. So, of course, most people will choose Tesla over anything else, as we have seen for many years now, and still do here in 2024. And this is not including Tesla superchargers that are also available or all the home chargers that are also available. These are just more excuses from the German automakers, and I think they are making a fatal mistake by slowing down, as Tesla and the Chinese are speeding up. As we do see, Tesla's growing in BEV market share in January compared to December, even though December is usually a stronger month than January. So doubling their market share in BEVs from 7 to 14% in the month after the incentives are gone, and EV sales were supposed to collapse now, right? But Tesla doubled their BEV market share in Germany, but maybe because the old guys are slowing down, because they're giving Tesla more room to grow in market share again in Germany, which they have not been doing in 2023, as they had an insanely high market share in the beginning of the year, but then they fell during 2023. So year over year, Tesla is down from their very high sales numbers in the beginning of 2023, but now Tesla doubled their BEV market share in January month over month. And maybe that is because the Germans give them space to grow, and Tesla is seizing this opportunity. And that is why they are now accelerating again in the Berlin factory, because the old guys are slowing down, Well, let's seize that opportunity and grab some more market share, as more and more people still want EVs. But if you know you have to wait 6 or 12 months to get one from the legacy automakers, but you only have to wait a month or two to get one from Tesla or maybe the Chinese, that is even better EVs. You are literally handing over customers to your competition, and for the German minister to say that EVs are still more expensive is just a load of trash and garbage. Yes, we are still missing mass-produced $25,000 EVs, but that will come from many players in 2024, including Tesla. And that will make the EV adoption take off like a rocket, even more than it already has, and the Germans will not be ready for it. So this year, we might have a transition year, but that does not mean that EV sales will go down. And to say that EVs are more expensive than an equivalent ICE car is just BS, in my opinion, as Tesla's refreshed Model 3 is in my country cheaper than the average selling price of a car in my country. And you can't find any equivalent ICE car that is that good for that price. And on top of that, have true cost of ownership taken into calculation, the ICE car simply just collapses next to the Tesla Model 3. And BYD has a starting price of their BYD Dolphin in my country of $36,000. And that might still sound a little bit expensive, but that is actually $117,000 lower than the average selling price of a car in my country. So that is quite an affordable EV. And I would much rather have the BYD Dolphin than the Volkswagen Polo ICE car or any other equivalent ICE car. So, it will probably be lower than the 25,000 euros the German minister is talking about. And even Hyundai has just been out saying that they will this year launch a fully electric version of their Casper Mini crossover in Europe that could sell for less than 20,000. So to say we don't have any compelling EVs that can match ICEs on cost is simply just false. And as an EV is more superior and true cost of ownership much cheaper, you kind of have to compare an EV over a 5-year span to an ICE car that costs about $20,000 less. If you drive as much as me and live in my country, of course, I save about $220,000 on 5 years by driving my Tesla Model 3 compared to my Master 3, and I drive about 40,000 kilometers a year. So to find something that is equivalent to the Tesla Model 3 refreshed but costs $220,000 less, well, that suddenly just makes this task impossible. So we might see a slowdown in Germany as the Germans are slowing down, but maybe Tesla and the Chinese can make up for that. But the rest of the world is still accelerating towards the future of BEVs, not hydrogen, not hybrids, fully electric vehicles. And BYD and Tesla are in a race to become the new Toyota and Volkswagen of the automotive industry. And the old guys are stuck between a rock and a hard place because they still have their collapsing ICE business to think about. And they can't keep up in the EV race. They probably should have followed BYD's example from the beginning of 2022 and halted all production of ICE cars. However, their ICE business was much larger than BYD's, making it impractical to stop production abruptly. Now it's challenging to see how they'll navigate this situation, as they seem unaware of the urgency of their predicament. Unfortunately, by the time they realize the severity of the situation, it may be too late. While the Germans may be slowing down, EV adoption shows no signs of stopping. Consequently, they risk falling even further behind. Thank you for watching. Thank you for